On May 13, 1981, the world witnessed an event that would forever mark the papacy and global consciousness. Pope John Paul II's attempted assassination. Mehmet Ali Ağca, a Turkish gunman, opened a fire on the Pope in St. Peter Square, Rome, in a terrible act of violence. Welcome to the podcast, Live the Battlefield. Today, we're going to talk about some historic events which shaped the world. Not just to shape the world on a positive or negative way, but to shape the world on the years to come. 1981, the world started witnessing changes in World War side of enemies. West versus East. East becomes more itchy. They knew they're losing the war against the West. Why? Because economy. Why? Because they spend so much money on the weapons and everything else. But what they did have, it was an abundant network of spies, assassins, and people who are loyal to regime in Moscow. So let's go dig deep today on the assassination of the Pope John Paul II in 1981. The consequences of this historic event, well beyond the bodily wounds inflicted on the Pope, what happened in the aftermath, however, was equally remarkable. The Pope's heartfelt act of forgiveness toward his would-be murderer. This episode digs into detailed facts of the assassination attempt, giving light on intelligence services involvement, the organizational jigsaw underlying the attack, and the fundamental reasons for the Pope's decision to extend forgiveness. The world-shattering event, which happened on 30th of May 1981, is remembered as a day Pope John Paul II almost avoided death. Yes, he avoided being killed. On that terrible day, the Pope was giving his monthly audience in St. Peter's Square when the attack occurred. Mehmet Ali Ağca is a skilled Turkish gunman. He fired several close-range bullets at the Pope as the world watched in horror. The turmoil and shock that occurred were apparent. Of course, the Pope was seriously hurt, as witnesses rushed to grab Ağca, preventing further harm. Following the incident, there was a worldwide outpouring of love, praise, and well wishes for the Pope's recovery. Now, as a kid, I do remember one thing. Every Pope, particularly Pope II, John Paul II, was somebody who was always looking to make the world a better place. He was the Pope who was offering his hand in exchange for the peace, smile, kindness to everybody. And anyway, he will fly around the world, seeing the sick, poverty, rich, good people. And the Pope was a central figure, particularly in the 80s, when the world was shaping into something different. Sometime before Russia invaded Afghanistan, the war becomes very unstable place. And the assassination of the Pope, it was something which made the world to understand that nobody is immune of potential assassination. If this gentleman, we're going to talk about him later, he's been equipped by somebody in Eastern Bloc with the informations, intelligence, weapons, protocols of the Pope to execute the Pope, what do you think would that lead to the global war? Now, let's go and cover the intelligence services role. The worldwide intrigue surrounding the attempted assassination involves many nations' spy services. Now, investigation found link between Ağca and the intelligence agencies as the KGB of the Soviet Union, but that is not all. They as well uncovered connection with Bulgarian secret service. That's correct, Bulgarian. These discoveries revealed a complicated web of political interests and ideological agendas that played a role in the attack. Cold War tensions, along with the Pope's involvement in aiding anti-communist groups, created an environment conducive to covert operations and state-sponsored espionage. Don't forget one crucial thing. Communism didn't like the church. Doesn't matter what church or religion you belong, because that was directly interfering with the state affairs. I was altar boy in 80s. I was very young, and the only reason why I became altar boy was because I was a petty thief, and I steal something, run from police, and rush it into the church, and they have some type of the meeting, and then nun, she says to me, sit here with us and watch some movie about Jesus. And I do remember police was on the door, but they didn't knock on the door. However, state was very much afraid of religious groups, and particularly from the church. Why? Because the church will hold everyday mass, and they will talk to the people between the lines, and state didn't like this. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in some other of the podcast episodes, how the church and how the communist system were afraid of each other. Now, let's go talk back about KGB and the Bulgarian service, how they aided to these Turkish gunmen. The classified papers and experts' analysis provided light on the extent to which intelligence services were involved in assassination attempt. KGB, Moscow, Bulgaria, in Sofia, they intelligence service, and then you have a Turkish guy. So we need to unravel an organizational puzzle. Investigators discovered links between AKA and a group called the Grey Wolves, a Turkish nationalist extremist group, while piecing together the organizational puzzle behind the murder attempt. Do you see how thing works? Grey Wolves, they were established in 1968 and still active today. Interesting enough, just a fact for you, they have still support of 3.8% voters in Turkey, and tens of thousands of supporters across the globe, particularly in EU countries. As intelligence data testimonials were scrutinized, the meticulous planning and coordination involved in the attack become clear. Absolutely becomes clear. How the Russians identify through Bulgarians AKA and Grey Wolves? Well, I'll let this your imagination works. The organization choice to attack the Pope was influenced by ideological objectives, political grudges, and personal vendettas. You need to understand dynamics and complexities of the groups involved, provides critical insights into the event's origins and motivations. Killing the Pope is not so simple. You must be highly motivated and must be ideology behind. So let's go talk now about hegemony of the KGB and KDAS. The Bulgarian secret agency was known as the Committee for the State Security, or the State Security Agency. They were on Bulgarian, it's going to be Komitet Dravna Sigurnost. In Bulgarian, generally shortened as the KDS, during the time of the Pope John Paul II's attempted assassination. During the communist era, the KDA was Bulgaria's primary intelligence agency. Primary. So it's not just some police secret unit, it was a primary intelligence agency. Concerning the affiliation with the KGB, it is well known that the KDS had tight contacts with the KGB of the Soviet Union. During that time, Bulgaria was a Soviet satellite state and was aligned with the Soviet goals and maintained a close relationship with the KGB. This collaboration entitled Intelligence Exchange, Activity Coordination and Ideological Alignment. I just want to make it here very clear. KGB never directly told other governments and other states in Eastern Bloc, you must do this. What we'll do, they will send the people like Vladimir Putin from counterintelligence services to assist them to develop same way of thinking and devising plans, like how will KGB do something, and then this agency will, of course, to be in the grace of the bosses in Moscow, execute that plan. The KGB assisted and advised the KDS, and the two agencies collaborated on a variety of missions, including surveillance, intelligence collection, and counterintelligence efforts. So that's how the things has been done between the agency. Now, when we talk about context of the Pope John Paul II attempted assassination, some speculation believe that the KDS, operating as a proxy for the KGB, may have colluded with the gunman, Mehmet Ali Ağca, in preparing the attack. According to these views, the KDS enabled Ağca's travel and offered logistical support. Do you understand how this sponsored terrorism works? Feel free to check my video on Carlos the Jackal, and you're gonna see it, how the most known terrorists across the globe, enjoyed logistical support, government protection, and everything else they needed to continue to fight on the side of Eastern Bloc. Same was for the Mehmet Ali Ağca. Mehmet Ali Ağca, I'm certain that being identified as an extremist. However, sometimes enemy of my enemy is my friend, and of course they offer him some type of cooperation or logistical support in exchange to do something for them. However, it's vital to emphasize that no clear evidence ever has been publicly produced to show the degree of the KDS role in a murder or attempted murder of their direct relationship to the KGB. So that was never been proved. Question still sits with us. Did KGB order assassination of the Pope John Paul II? Most probably. The question of whether the KGB ordered Pope John Paul II killing, it remains open to dispute and speculation. While there have been rumors and assertions about the Soviet Union KGB intelligence services being involved in attack, tangible evidence directly linking the KGB to the murder attempt has never been produced definitely. Hence why the KGB was utilizing KDS and KDS was utilizing somebody third. According to some claims, the KGB was involved in arranging the murder attempt in retaliation to the Pope's important position in backing anti-communist groups and campaign for human rights. Don't forget the Pope is a Polish-born man, and he saw the Second World War. He saw as well what the Soviets did to the Poland in Second World War. It's crucial to emphasize, however, that these theories are mostly based on circumstantial evidence, intelligence reports, and defector and informant statements. Due to secrecy of intelligence activities and limited access to sensitive information, definite proof of KGB involvement has yet to be revealed. Various investigations by Italian and foreign authorities, notably the prosecution of the Mehmet Ali Ağca and subsequent inquiries, have shed a light on Ağca's possible links to the Bulgarian Secret Service. Because, man, he spoke to the CIA, Italians, and other intelligence agencies. According to certain speculations, the Bulgarian Secret Service may have participated with Ağca in organizing the attack as a proxy for the Soviet Union. However, the degree of their involvement and the precise reasoning behind their activities remain unknown. Approaching these assertions with prudence and relying on well-documented facts rather than unproven speculations or hearsay is critical. So there was no witness except Ali Ağca. Everything was being based on assumptions and circumstantial evidence and maybe some informants they escaped from the Russia, but there's never been established a relationship between KGB, KDS attempting assassination of John Paul. Now, we need to talk about failure of Western intelligence agency to establish a direct link between KGB, the assassin, and the murder plot. Well, it's not necessarily indicative of the failure of Western intelligence agencies. We must understand something else. Due to secrecy of such activities and limited access to sensitive information, investigators determine the truth behind complicated international occurrences, particularly those involving intelligence services, can be difficult. It is difficult because everybody is hiding their own feet under their bodies. So everybody's just gonna point a finger in somebody else. So Ali Ağca is the man who done this but never proven who did it. It's critical to recognize that intelligence services follow stringent rules and frequently confront major challenges when conducting investigations. It can be extremely difficult to find actual proof that explicitly implicates a specific agency with an assassination plot, especially when dealing with the state-sponsored activities. It's also worth noting that the inquiry into Pope John Paul attempted assassination encompassed different intelligence organizations from various countries, NATO countries. And don't forget one thing, intelligence agencies, they are not police, they are working based on their assumptions and some links or some informants. While they were unable to prove a clear link between the KGB and the conspiracy, the investigation did offer vital information about involvement of other institutions, such as the Bulgarian Secret Agency. The intricacies of intelligence operations, the passage of time, and geopolitical variables can all make establishing direct relationship and getting irrefutable evidence difficult. What does that mean? When I was working in human intelligence, I was working for government sector as well. Again, this is not the police. Police operates within the law of the one country and state, and everything must happen in the domain of the work in a city, village, country. They have the access, and you are the person who needs to cooperate. When you have an assassination or attempted assassination of such a high political person, the Pope, we can clearly say he is the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, but politically has been involved in many other things. One of them is to support anti-communist groups. And the Russians in the Eastern Bloc, particularly KGB, with all these informant networks and everything else, they didn't like it a bit. So when the intelligence agency do investigation, they cannot go into from Rome in Moscow, so like, give me the evidence. It doesn't work that way. That's the reason why this is called the shadow work, gray zone. And sometimes even the government says, no, we have no idea what's happening with us. We have no idea. So that was the reason why everybody blamed the Western agencies, intelligence agencies, police, why you can't pinpoint the finger into KGB. Well, it couldn't, because they didn't have enough evidence. However, Ali Ağca, in his conversation with interrogators in Italy and the intelligence agencies, spilled out beans and said, I've been hired by the Bulgarian KDS. So that is a direct link. KDS has been involved directly in attempted assassination of the Pope John Paul II. Now, Pope John Paul II forgave his assassin. That was one of the most amazing parts of Pope John Paul II attempted assassination, was the Pope's outstanding act of forgiveness towards his would-be killer. And as you know, the Pope John Paul II survived that attempt. The choice to extend forgiveness struck a profound chord with the people all around the world, leaving an indelible imprint on the collective consciousness. This act of charity defied expectations and reflected the Pope's deep faith in the transformative power of forgiveness. Imagine the Pope forgave his assassin based on his own suffering under totalitarian regime. The Pope's forgiveness evolved into the powerful message of compassion, reconciliation, and healing. He embodied Jesus Christ's teaching via his acts, influencing countless people to accept forgiveness as a road to peace and togetherness. So let's go conclude this podcast episode that the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II is a truly memorable moment in history, defined by violence, tenacity, and the power of forgiveness. Power of forgiveness. A better understanding of this critical moment emerged by delving into the details of the attack, the involvement of intelligence services, the organizational problem, and the Pope's act of forgiveness. Don't forget, this historical event exemplifies humanity's resilient spirit and the ability to transcend hatred and violence through acts of compassion and forgiveness. The forgiveness tale of Pope John Paul II continues to resonate, inspiring people all across the world to seek reconciliation and healing in the face of hardship. Guys, before you go, feel free, give a thumbs up, subscribe, share, like, and comment. Put in the comment section, what do you believe? What is the relationship between the KGB, KDS with attempted assassination of the Pope John Paul II? Thank you.